What is that?
This?
Yeah, what's it?
Literally nothing. It's just it's a design.
Is it like a possum or I don't know.
No, it's supposed to be like a dog.
That was Graham Platner. He's a Democratic candidate running for U.S. Senate in Maine, debuting the brand new ink that, as of today, has covered up a previous tattoo that resembled a Nazi symbol. The decision to replace the tattoo coming after this video of the oyster farmer and first-time candidate revealed a skull and crossbones design on his chest that is widely recognized as a Nazi symbol. Platner, who said he was unaware of the tattoo's Nazi association, explained that it was the result of a drunken night out 18 years ago.
We went ashore in Split, Croatia, myself and a few of the other machine gun squad leaders, and we got very inebriated. And we did what Marines on liberty do, and we decided to go get a tattoo. And we went to a tattoo parlor in Split, Croatia, and we chose a terrifying looking skull and crossbones off the wall because we were Marines, and skulls and crossbones are a pretty standard military thing.
Platner's explanation seemingly sufficient for Senator Bernie Sanders, who today said he is, quote, absolutely standing by his endorsement of Platner.
Can I ask you about the tattoo?
Once again, we are dealing with a collapsing healthcare system, and you were asking me about whether or not a guy should get a tattoo removed? Sorry.
All right, joining us now in the arena, Democratic Congressman from Massachusetts, Seth Moulton. He sits on the House Armed Services Committee, has launched a Senate bid for the seat currently occupied by Democratic Senator Ed Markey. Congressman, great to see you. Thank you for being here.
You too.
Should Mr. Platner be the next Democratic nominee for Senate in Maine?
He should certainly be in the race. I mean, primaries are good. They're healthy. And he represents a new generation of leadership that's not just cut from the same cloth, part of the old playbook that frankly hasn't been serving Democrats well. But look, he's made mistakes in his life. He's made mistakes in his life. We all have. He deserves an opportunity to explain those mistakes. And he's doing that. I think another thing is, a lot of people in politics don't answer questions like this. They try to get out of it. They try to blame mistakes on other people. We see Donald Trump do that every single day. I see Graham owning this mistake, correcting it. And you know what? As someone who served in the Marines myself, he's far from the first Marine I've seen who got a tattoo that he didn't understand.
Would you be willing to endorse Mr. Platner in this primary?
I'm certainly considering it. I mean, he's a fellow Marine. He represents a new generation of leadership that we desperately need in our party. And I think he's speaking to real concerns of people across the country, which is why his Senate campaign is attracting attention, not just across the state of Maine, but really across America.
So speaking of Senate campaigns and primaries that are perhaps unpopular with the Democratic establishment, I want to talk a little bit about your race in Massachusetts, and whether, let's start with, have you spoken with Joe Kennedy, who of course tried to do a similar thing, tried to win this seat and fell in the face of Senator Markey?
Yes, I've spoken with Joe several times. He's a friend, and he's been encouraging. I mean, look, this is a different time than when Joe ran 5 years ago. It's very clear that the establishment is not getting things done. And we just can't wait 6 years for new leadership in our party.
Congressman, if you were elected to the Senate, would you support Chuck Schumer to remain as the majority or the minority leader, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate?
No, I would not. I would not vote for him. I'm not going to run in Massachusetts on new leadership and then go down to Washington and just vote for Chuck Schumer. We clearly need new leadership in our party from top to bottom. Look, the status quo, just protecting the status quo, has gotten us a second term of Donald Trump, and people are getting hurt all across Massachusetts, all across America. We've got to do better as a Democratic Party, and it's time to pass the torch. It's time for a new generation of leadership.
Who might you support as leader?
Well, I have a couple of ideas, but I haven't discussed it with them yet. So I'm going to focus right now on winning the support of Massachusetts voters rather than getting ahead of myself here on who I might vote for if I'm fortunate enough to win this race.
Do you think that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez should run in a primary against Chuck Schumer?
I think she should decide that, not me. But I do think that primaries
Would you
are
endorse her
healthy
if she did?
for our party. I would certainly consider it. She and I have worked closely on high-speed rail, in particular in the House of Representatives. I have the most ambitious high-speed rail program for the entire country, which is an example of the kind of ambitious plans that Democrats need. You know, everyone in America knows that Democrats are opposed to Donald Trump. But I don't think enough people know what we stand for and what we're going to do and what our plans are for the future. And part of that is because they look at the Democratic Party and they see really calcified leadership that just doesn't look like we are investing in the future.
There also today was an announcement from Scott Weiner, a Democratic state senator in California. He's going to run against Nancy Pelosi, who has, of course, held that San Francisco area seat for very many years. Would you consider endorsing him? Is he doing the right thing?
Sure. I mean, he hasn't reached out to me. I don't know him like I know Alex. But look, the point is that across the country, there are young leaders standing up in our party saying we need to do better. We need to change. The status quo is not working. And this is a good thing for our party. And when Trump is in charge, it's a good thing for our country that there's this new generation of leaders who want to rise up in our party. And I just wish that our establishment leadership right now would be more welcoming of these challenges, welcome the debate rather than trying to cut us out. But that's okay, because, that's okay. We're ready to rise up and accept that challenge. I think you're seeing that in a lot of places across America today.
All right. Congressman Seth Moulton, always grateful to have you on the show, sir. Thanks very much for coming.
Good to see you, Casey.
All right. Our panel is back with me. David, you're shaking your head.
I was gonna say, I'd like to get Seth Moulton back on and say to him, so why do you think, I know Joe Kennedy, he's a great guy, I'm friendly with him, serve on the board of the Edward Kennedy Institute in Massachusetts. What does he think he's going to do differently than Joe Kennedy did to convince Massachusetts voters to vote for him? The reason that Joe Kennedy lost is he was too conservative. Joe Kennedy was too mainstream. This is a state that Elizabeth Warren controls and runs. It is Bernie Sanders. Seth Moulton is like a blue dog Democrat, basically, and he's going to get smoked in a primary. Newsflash.
I've got another answer. I think COVID hurt Kennedy tremendously.
Yeah,
he's an incredible person, great, on the stump. He can't get out there, though. COVID just suppressed.
I think Massachusetts is
that's
a
fair enough.
Completely different place. And I think that for a former Marine, a conservative, a guy who looks like he's a Republican, is going to have a very tough time unless he spews, unless he comes out and talking like Zolan Mondani.
I would just say they did at one point elect Scott Brown. But I do want to turn back to what's going on in Maine. And this was a tweet from Amy Walter, who put this up today. So with all the information we had about the Senate candidate in Maine, she says here, like Trump, Platner is flawed but authentic. Moreover, Janet Mills. So Janet Mills is the governor who is now running for Senate in Maine, and her entry did upend all of the sort of predictions about where the race would go. But Amy says Janet Mills is all the way wrong for Democrats in 2024. Old status quo establishment. How do you see it?
This feels so much like what Republicans went through in 2010. So for our viewers who don't remember, I have a brief history lesson for you. Republicans come out of the 2008 election. They got smoked by Obama. They're wandering in the wilderness. And this thing called the Tea Party emerges, where a lot of right-of-center voters said, I'm sick of the establishment of my party. I want new faces. You look at that Senate class of Republicans who were elected in 2010. It's a lot of folks, Mike Lee, Rand Paul, Marco Rubio, names who were not necessarily the favorites of the party establishment, but they won in primaries and they are still serving in government today. They transformed the party. Now there's a risk with that. Other candidates from the 2010 cycle, Sharon Angle in Nevada. You had Christine O'Donnell, famously, I am not a witch. Kids, go Google it. It's a journey. You'll go on.
It was really a great election cycle,
you do, by pursuing that strategy, potentially not pick up all the seats you will, but that's the real trade-off. Do you get that base energy going, and does it actually pay off in some ways?
And I'll give you Amy Walter already. Now I'm going to give you, for every Amy Walter, there's Jonathan Martin who says, Democrats keep falling for political fantasies. When will they learn Democrats keep falling for charismatic newcomers and viral candidates, and it keeps costing them elections. That is the alternative view, because again, Ellie, I've got to go back to the man does have a Nazi, covered up a Nazi symbol.
It's a reminder that I need to get these spider webs tattoos taken off my elbows right now. But no, the one thing that, and your points are well taken about 2020 and Joe Kennedy and so on. Post Joe Biden and the idea of someone being president of the United States who was past his prime as a politician, I think there's something in the water when Seth Moulton talks about being the next face, when the Maine Graham
Platner.
Right. And I think that is the thing that shakes up this election. Back to Massachusetts, Ed Markey's 79 years old. And it's a compelling argument that someone who's 79 is just not fit to be, when the Senate is a gerontocracy as it is, and their average age is about 65 years old right now. They need fresh energy.
If you compare Democrats and Republicans, actually, I haven't done it recently, but for a long time, the Democratic average age was much higher.
Yes, it is.